Could you use a boost in energy? I mean, maybe you're feeling tired and lethargic as you go through your day. Maybe a crash in energy at certain points. Maybe you have chronic fatigue, or maybe you just feel bored, unmotivated, and unfocused, and nothing has worked. Well, I'm about to give you my top 10 hacks for maximizing your energy levels, many of which I guarantee you have never heard of before. Everyone knows like diet, sleep, exercise, cup of coffee. And while those are important, and I will touch on them briefly, I'm gonna go a layer deeper and get into like some tangible biohacking. If you think of your body like a battery, right? How do we charge it for maximum energy, even outside of, say, your caloric intake? So, for example, we won't just talk about your body in the context of food and chemicals, but also things like the electrical systems in your body and the environment that you're in. So, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Hill, the wholesaling titan, and I teach new investors how to consistently flip multiple wholesale deals every month, even if you're starting with no cash, no credit, no experience. That way you can quit that 9 to 5 and be your own boss while banking, 5 figures a month. If you're a wholesaler or any entrepreneur, you're going to need high levels of energy, especially when you're doing some of the more boring or monotonous type of work. And guys, let's just be real, right? Life in general is just better when you have an abundance of energy. When you wake up excited and ready to kill your day versus dragging yourself through it. And that applies to your business, to parenthood, to your social life, and just your general happiness. And I'm talking about this today because I don't just teach like how to wholesale, like just the technical stuff. I tend to teach from a more holistic approach, how to actually make it work, and encompasses a lot of things. So I teach things like habits and psychology and routines, and how to build a business that supports your ideal life as opposed to a life that has to revolve around your work. Um, for example, right? There are a lot of people that know how to lose weight, but bro, like they're still fat. Okay. So it takes more than just knowledge. You need that practical application. So, quick shout out to Josh, one of our students who asked this question during one of our weekly coaching calls. If you would like to join us on the next call, there's a link in the description below, and be sure to bring your questions. Now, before I jump into energy hack number one, I just want to preface this by saying these are things that have worked for me. There's a lot of science, a lot of evidence behind all of the things I'll be talking about. But in the interest of time, I'm not going to go very deep into the science of why these things work. I'm just going to ask you to have a little bit of faith. I'm going to give you a list of things so you can just start implementing. And if you would like the studies or more details, just let me know in the comments below and I will direct you there. All right, so for energy hack number one, we're going to keep this one pretty simple, but I'm going to drop a little extra something on it that you may not have considered. And we're just going to be talking about water. Our bodies are 70%, over 70% water. And I'm sure you already know that you need to stay hydrated for maximum energy. Personally, I aim for about a gallon a day. I recommend you do the same. Water, it's absolutely crucial to so many of our bodily functions. All the bacterias and cells in your body, they live in this medium of water, and it's essential that that's how we get energy from the environment, right? But now I want to go a little bit deeper. Okay, so the amount of charge that we have in our bodies depends on the flow of electrons within our bodies, and you want to basically create a healthy internal electrical sea. Now, in order to do this, we got to talk about the type of water that you're putting into your body. Curious, right? But the water that you find moving in nature, spring water, glacial water, it vibrates at a frequency that's able to carry higher energy frequencies. And we refer to this type of water as structured water. So, like in grade school, we're taught about the 3 phases of water, right? Solid, liquid, vapor. But there's this fourth type that's known as structured water, or EZ, meaning exclusion zone water. And if you see pictures of it under a microscope, really fascinating stuff, right? It has this different, almost like crystalline structure. And when this type of specific water is inside of your cells, it has a more gelatin structure that more easily converts heat and light into a source of electrons that your mitochondria converts to energy. So this water also carries a more negative charge, and the more negative the charge, the more it actually charges your body. So the type of water that you drink is actually very important, which was news to me. I always thought like water was water. Like, yeah, we want to throw some electrolytes in there, but then you're good. But no, more important, it's a lot more important than you think. So you want to ideally be drinking pure spring water, glacial water, or water from a natural well. You can also benefit from physically being in natural bodies of water. So, the beach, a river, lakes, flowing water, these are all forms of structured water. Your skin absorbs the water, and it also makes, like, even our skin itself more conductive, so your body can absorb electrons and absorb energy. That's number one. Energy hack number two is going to be the idea of grounding. Now, your body not only gets energy from food, where, mitochondria produces ATP in your cells. Again, if you remember that third grade science, but this is more the chemical energy. But remember that your body is also an electrical system. Your body contains ions. These are, charged particles like sodium, potassium, and calcium that help conduct electricity. And these ions move across cell membranes. They create electrical currents to send millions of signals to your body. So you have an electrical system controlling and pulsing through your nervous system, controlling your heart, your muscle functions, your brain activities, cellular functions, etc. Dave Asprey has this great quote that says, "Listen, if you don't think your body's an electrical system, like try walking into a taser." And so again, if you think of your body as a battery, right? How do you charge it up? And the way you can charge up your battery is by absorbing electrons. Now, one of the best ways to do this is by a process called grounding or earthing, where your body can actually absorb electrons when you make direct contact with the earth. So the earth, naturally has a negative electrical charge, meaning that it provides electrons when you touch it. You have Earth's natural electrical field, you have sunspots, solar rays, the earth absorbing solar wind. And remember, you have thunderstorms and lightning that strikes the planet about 100 times a second. So that's where that charge comes from. And you can just come along and like soak up all this free energy straight up, like rogue style. If I got any X-Men fans in here, clearly I'm a fan, right? But to make it simple, listen, just spend some time just walking barefoot in nature. And I know that sounds really simple. You may even be skeptical, but I've seen the science, right? Feel free to research it. I've seen other people's testimonials. But more importantly, I've been practicing this. I can personally attest that this absolutely works. So anytime you can touch and like spend time in earth, right? Getting buried in the sand at the beach, sitting in mud baths, rock climbing, just anything where you're making that physical contact, just make sure you do it, okay? In addition to increasing your energy, there's a lot of research that shows that absorbing electrons by way of grounding can neutralize harmful free radicals in the body. It's been shown to thin your blood, reduce inflammation, improve sleep, and help with stress relief. Now, if you live in a city or somewhere where it's a little harder to do this grounding practice, you can still benefit from products like grounding sheets or grounding mats that you can put under your desk to replicate these benefits. You can buy them on Amazon. You'll see the good ones. They have thousands of purchases with 4 and 5-star reviews, and they should run you, less than $100. But ideally, man, just spend some time barefoot in nature for the best results. So look, we've got a few more to go here, right? And it's only going to get better, more interesting from here. But real quick, like 30 seconds here, I do have a free gift for you. If you guys find value in this style of teaching, this more holistic approach where obviously I teach you the technical aspects of wholesaling, right? The absolute best list to pull, the step-by-step process to getting contracts signed, what to say, what forms to use, what clauses to include, how to fill out paperwork, how to build an insanely good buyers list, like all that stuff, right? But also the how to make this happen side, right? How to set up and structure your day, how to be more efficient, how to hold yourself accountable, how to actually get paid and not just be busy, how to specifically prioritize and maximize that productivity so you can work less and make more money. That sounds good to you? I'm going to do two things really quickly. One, I want to invite you to join me on our next weekly Zoom call. That was the inspiration behind this video. It's a small, intimate group. I teach, basically just come check us out, right? Again, very intimate. I'll answer any and all of your questions. And then two, I also want to give you access to Wholesaling with Mike University, 100% for free. Guys, I have testimonials. You see it on the page when you click, from students who have gone from a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, quit their jobs. They're now wholesaling full time. In many cases, pulling 6 figures a year. In some cases, even very high 6 figures a year. You get the course, which, by the way, I have sold for as much as $2,000, and I have students who have had more than 100 times ROI on that 2K. Just saying. But right now you can grab it for free in the description below, and it also comes with a free trial of REI Titan, which is literally the best software for wholesalers, right? I don't need to sell you on it. I don't want you to take my word for it. You can try it. It works. Details in the description. The course is yours to keep forever. With the software trial, if you hate it, just cancel it. Okay, there's literally no risk to you. But I know that if you use it, if you follow the instructions, you're going to love it. You're going to get results. Okay. So now let's go ahead and jump into energy hack number 3, which is your gut health. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to focus too much on diet in this video. I really wanted to focus on some of the lesser known energy hacks outside of food, but this one is super important and I feel like I'd be remiss not to mention it. Also, at the end of this video, I will go through a list of supplements, including my number 1 favorite supplement, and I'll show you the diet that has worked best for me personally, like what I eat, and also when I eat, which is also super important. At least that gives me maximum energy. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about your gut health and why it's crucial to your energy levels. So scientists are now referring to the gut as your second brain. The research on this, guys, is incredible, okay? Your gut isn't just crucial for digestion, but it also affects your immune system, hormones, mood, and energy. As an example, right? About 90% of your serotonin, which is your feel-good hormone, it's made in your gut, which impacts your mood and obviously your energy levels. There are microorganisms in your body. There's more bacteria than cells in your body, right? And if you want to keep these trillions of bacteria, also known as your microbiome, healthy, well, here are some actionable steps to do just that, okay? And, reduce that inflammation, get rid of brain fog, regulate your mood, improve nutrient absorption, balance your blood sugar, and again, just ultimately have more energy. So number 1, eat more fiber, right? Fiber helps feed beneficial gut bacteria, helping them to thrive. Fermented foods, this is a great one. Fermented foods and probiotics. This is huge and one of the most noticeable things that I've personally done to see just massive increases in my personal energy. These are going to be foods like Greek yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, kombucha, bone broth. And you can also grab a probiotic supplement. Again, we'll do a rapid fire supplement list at the end. Next, you want to limit processed foods and sugars, promotes harmful bacteria. Don't mess with that stuff, okay? Stress levels, right? So you want to keep your stress low, meditation, mindfulness, exercise, that also helps. But one of the best recommendations I can give you to get your gut health right is to go to a site called Viome. That's V like Victor, biohacking.com. They have a gut intelligence check kit that they send you in the mail. You're going to send them back your samples, stool, saliva, and blood, and they break down and score the quality of your gut health. And they will provide you with a personalized plan, based on what's in your gut, of what you should eat: probiotics, prebiotics, supplements to take, and basically an action plan that's going to get you right. All right. So now we're on to energy hack number 4, which is going to be charging the body through cold exposure. Now, look, I'm originally from New York, but I live in Florida because I hate the cold. But if I can do this and even enjoy it, I promise you that anyone can do this. So, sports medicine has already shown you the benefits of cold, right? You injure yourself, you already know to throw an ice pack on it. Cold plunges have been growing in popularity these days for a reason. I'm sure you guys have seen this. And the hardest part is just that first step in. So I recommend you just submerge ASAP, right? Don't do any of this nonsense of like dipping the toe in. And after a minute or so of resistance, it's like your nervous system just melts. Like the shivering just shuts off, and this painful, uncomfortable experience actually becomes quite blissful. Your body starts generating like tons of endorphins that make you feel really, really good. Your body will burn hundreds of calories just warming itself up internally in the hours to follow. Reduces inflammation. It melts white fat, that's the bad fat, and increases brown fat, which is energy dense. Cold therapy has been shown to boost immune responses and impact your autonomous nervous system, something that scientists once thought was impossible to do. So if you guys know Wim Hof, you may know him as the Iceman. He's famous for hiking mountains in like negative 30 degrees Celsius weather, shirtless and in shorts. He's broken all these world records. And he's got some fantastic videos, like documentaries, and just some incredible experience showing that, one, he's not some freak of nature, right? Anybody can do this. And number two, what I want to point out is he oversaw this endotoxin experiment where volunteers would expose themselves to the cold and then be injected with like some bacteria that makes you sick with known symptoms like headaches and shivering, and all to prove that these participants could actually influence their autonomous immune response. And obviously they did, okay? He's kind of like this hippie character, but his methods are solid. So check him out. I mean, the instruction is there, the results are there. Supplemental to cold exposure, he also talks about just deep breathing and how he uses deep breathing practices, which what that does, it temporarily decreases acidity and raises alkalinity in the blood in your body to make your body more alkaline. And neurotransmitters are significantly faster in an alkaline body. So after this session of deep breathing and super oxygenating yourself and really calming your nervous system, you can jump into extreme cold with no issues. Cold activates healing, increases libido, corrects thyroid issues, reduces inflammation. And again, you don't have to be the Iceman, okay? You can start slow. Start with dunking your face in cold water and then graduate to cold showers and then to ice baths. And bro, I'll tell you, okay? I used to hate ice baths, right? I did this when I was fighting and competing. But once you get past the first minute, it truly does feel amazing. And then you feel so energized for hours afterwards. Now, if you aren't able to have your own cold plunge, ideally with the chiller, right? You can go bags of ice in a tub. You can do that. Or just search Google, and I'm sure you can find spas and Groupons with cold plunges and cryotherapy near you. And look, if you live in somewhere cold, right, just go like jump in a lake. Okay, so cold thermogenesis gets my stamp of approval for energy hack number 4, which means it is time to move to energy hack number 5. And guys, if you're enjoying this, please do me a favor, right? Hit that like button for me, subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Helps the channel. Very much appreciated. All right, so energy hack number 5 has to do with our natural and circadian rhythms. So, what are circadian rhythms? Well, these are natural 24-hour cycles that regulate biological processes in your body. Things like sleep, hormone production, digestion, and body temperature. And they're influenced by environmental cues, primarily like light and darkness, meaning like we evolved to rise and rest with the sun. Like today, we're surrounded by screens and artificial light and 24/7 technology. But imagine, right, back in the day, without technology, like going back to caveman days, you would naturally rise with the sun. Then you see this bright blue sky that would signal the rise of cortisol in your body, giving you that natural energy boost. And then as the sun started to set, it would signal your body to start winding down, right? Those cortisol levels drop, melatonin increases, and you'd be ready for a restful night's sleep. So another way to maximize your energy is to realign with these natural cycles. So if you can, wake up with or even before the sun, which I find to be a really productive time, right? At least for me, because there are just minimal distractions. But aim to expose yourself to natural light during the day, especially in the morning. In the evening, switch off all blue light sources and opt for warmer lighting. Ideally, you don't want to be using any screens, no TV, no phone, no iPad, no computer, all that stuff after dark. Now, if you're like me, this isn't exactly practical. I do a lot of stuff after the sun goes down, but you can still try. All right. In addition, your devices should have options to limit blue light, like some sort of like night mode that you can use at these times. And you can also benefit from using blue light blocking glasses. In your home, you should opt for softer orange or amber lighting during the evenings when possible. And also, on that subject of technology and how it relates to your energy levels, your body has its own electrical field, right? You kind of know this intuitively, right? Um, and with the increase of technology, a lot of devices, particularly our wireless devices, cell phone towers and iPads and Wi Fi enabled devices, they're all producing these non harmonious, chaotic waves that sometimes disrupt these electrical based processes in your body. Now, stick with me here, okay? Like, I'm not some radical conspiracy theorist telling you to put on an aluminum foil hat and become a hermit in the woods. In fact, this piece is not very practical for me, not something I really practice. But there have been a lot of studies where people have taken extra steps to reduce this type of interference. Meaning, they only use, for example, wired internet connections at home, no Wi-Fi, right? They don't use iPads at Wi-Fi. They don't use smart TVs. And again, you can be skeptical, but there really have been some fascinating studies, particularly amongst children with autism, which in some cases, right, to my understanding, and in very simplistic terms, is like a lack of energy, or they just can't process all the sensory things in their environment. Um, and there are stories of parents with kids in special ed who had learning difficulties, where the parents simply removed a lot of technology and these devices from their homes. And the kids in these stories just like 180, and they were actually put into mainstream classes. And as impractical as this may be for some of you, you don't necessarily need to go to the extent of using wired connections only, or having metal shielded Ethernet cables and EMF blockers in your home. Although there's evidence that it would actually really help improve your energy levels. But really, you should strive for at least like a balance with technology to kind of realign these energy pathways. All right. So, on to our next energy hack. I believe we're at number 6 here. And it's related to the previous one. That's going to be exposure to the sun. Okay. The sun is the biggest nuclear slash energy plant we have, and it's the right type of energy. Now, the sun catches a lot of flack because, skin cancer, right? But our bodies need natural sunlight, not only for vitamin D, but again, for recharging your battery. So you don't need to sit in the sun all day. You don't need to get skin cancer. You don't need to get burnt up. But aim for about 20 minutes of sunlight each day. It's going to boost both your physical energy and it's going to boost your moods. Make sure getting that sunlight. Okay. So now let's go on to number 7. Energy hack number 7 is all about movement. Now, there are new studies that say a sedentary lifestyle, which is more and more common in the technology age, it's like the new smoking, all right? Movement is absolutely essential. And look, you don't need to be Mr. Olympia here, okay? Yes, personally, I think you need to get to the gym. But a lot of people will go to the gym for maybe an hour a day, and then they're sedentary throughout the rest of their day. And look, while that's better than nothing, it's still detrimental to your health and to your energy levels. You want to make sure that you are moving your body throughout the entire day. So one hack I use, for example, is my standing desk, right? I can put it up, I can put it down throughout my day. I might do a little shadow boxing here and there. I might do some stretching at my desk. I'll do some squats. I'll drop and hit some push-ups. I've got one of those chin-up bars in my office that attaches to the door frame. And actually, I need to get one of these treadmills that sit under the desk. Also, for those of you who are concerned with time, I don't have time to exercise, right? It can be massively beneficial, maybe even better, and really boost your overall energy levels if you incorporate high intensity training methods, right? Hit training, meaning rather than spending 2 hours jogging, you could spend 5 to 10 minutes doing sprints, right? And that might even be better for you. And then finally, just a recommendation, just find something you love to do. So for example, like I can't stay on a treadmill for more than 10 minutes. I find it incredibly boring. But I could train jujitsu and roll, or I could do some kickboxing sparring literally for hours. So find something you love. Just make sure you exercise, but remember, not just exercise. Make sure that you are moving all throughout your day. Again, you're going to see improvements in your physique, in your mood, your hormones. You get those feel-good endorphins, and your energy just increases. If you've ever felt tired throughout the day, you'd be surprised just seeing what standing up and doing like 20 jumping jacks can do for you. And really try this, all right? And if you're not in great shape, like just take it slow. Start with like a walk around the block. It's totally cool and you'll still see results. Now, inside of Wholesaling with Mike University, I have my students start each day with a morning routine. Now, it's not that you have to do this to be successful, but it primes your mind and your body for a successful day. So in addition to our meditation, visualization, reading, and journaling, we put exercise in there so you can start your blood flowing just to start your day. And as a quick example, right? Let's say you didn't have a good night's sleep. Maybe you went to bed late. You want to put your alarm clock across the room so you're not tempted to snooze. I actually keep mine in the bathroom. And for my alarm clock, I use an app called I Can't Wake Up, where in order to shut the alarm off, you actually have to do a task. Mine is one of those memory-based games where you like have to match colors. But no matter how tired I am, I'm already up. I'm in the bathroom. And then I'll just jump straight into a cold shower, especially if I'm feeling tired. Then a simple like 20 air squats, 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 jumping jacks, and like I'm good to go. Okay. All right. So energy hack number 9 is going to be specific supplements. Some of the stuff I'm about to mention may be seen as a little bit controversial. Use at your own discretion. But look, they're effective nonetheless. And I feel like that's what most people want to hear about because supplements are kind of like cheat codes, right? Like, how can you pop a pill and feel better? So stay tuned because we're actually on number 8. Not there just yet. Number 8 is probably the least popular, and I actually wanted to start this video with this concept because I feel like it's foundational, just fundamental stuff. But for some reason, people just don't like to hear it. And I'm talking about mindset here. And in my experience, a lot of people feel like it's just not tangible enough or it has minimal effect, or most popularly is like, oh, I know that already. So I'll make this one quick, even though it's literally one of the most important things you can do. But again, the inspiration behind this video was from my student Josh, who asked this on one of our weekly group coaching calls. And when he posed the question, he said, Mike, I feel tired. How can I not feel so exhausted all the time when I start working? And man, like you just don't realize how incredibly powerful your subconscious mind is and how incredibly powerful your words are. Even if this stuff is true, I get it, right? You do feel tired. I would encourage you never to admit or affirm that stuff with your words. This is one of those kind of rarer times where I would encourage just straight up delusion. All right. Your words are instructions to your brain, to your nervous system, to your body. And again, this is all largely on the subconscious level. So if you tell yourself, I'm tired, or you ask, why am I so tired? Like, you're going to be tired. And I mean, peep this, right? Check this out. There have been experiments where multiple coworkers go up to like a target coworker and they'll say things like, hey, are you feeling okay? You look a little under the weather. Hey, seems like you might be getting sick. Multiple people do this. And then these people, the target, they actually start feeling sick, even displaying physical symptoms, even getting fevers and having to go home. So, look, I've got plenty of advice and more importantly, tangible exercises on how to reprogram your mind, particularly on the subconscious level, which accounts for about 95% of your brain activity that you don't know is happening, versus the 5% that we use consciously, all inside of Wholesaling with Mike University. So, again, don't forget to grab your free access in the description below. There's a lot to unpack there, a lot of science, a lot of research, a lot of exercises for you to do. And so for the sake of this video, I don't want to make this section too long. So I'm going to give you just one example and then, you can find the rest in my university. So as an example, traditional self-help tells us to use affirmations to modify behavior, to build confidence, to change beliefs, and ultimately manifest our goals. Now, the problem is when you consistently tell yourself, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, with the 5% that is your conscious mind, and you only have like $100 in your bank account, your subconscious brain just says, okay, you're a liar. You're lying, right? It rarely works. And that's how things like imposter syndrome and feelings of poor self-worth, that's how those things manifest. So instead, I learned about a similar alternative method by Noah St. John. It's called affirmations. So with affirmations, similar concept, but instead of making positive statements, you ask supportive questions. Now, the logic behind this method is predicated on the notion that your brain operates like Google. So when you ask Google a question, it doesn't question your question, it just searches for answers. And that's what the subconscious part of your brain will do. So if you start saying to yourself, why am I so full of energy? Why do I feel energized? Why am I excited for the day? Why am I able to focus so easily? Why am I so productive? You don't need to actually answer those questions. Your subconscious will start feeding you answers that affirm those questions. It's very underrated. It sounds simplistic, but it's very, very effective. And remember, that's just one of the many techniques I have for you in my program. Okay. So now we can actually get to energy hack number 9, which is going to be supplements. I'm going to do this very much rapid fire style. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is just caffeine. Caffeine, it's a stimulant. It blocks adenosine, which is the neurotransmitter that makes you feel sleepy. Also increases dopamine and norepinephrine. I always say that wrong. I have trouble with that. Norepinephrine, which boosts mood and enhances focus so you feel more alert. If you're getting your caffeine from coffee, I personally drink it black. Just make sure you're not loading it up with tons of like sugar or artificial sweeteners. If you don't drink coffee or you aren't in the mood, I don't recommend energy drinks, although I am admittedly guilty of indulging sometimes. But I don't recommend it due to all like the artificial stuff. But you can go to like pharmacy, Walmart, CVS, and buy like 100 capsules of caffeine in pill form for like $5, which is what I'll usually do before like one of my workouts. Next, our next supplement. Okay, this one's gonna be a little controversial, but it's gonna be nicotine. Now, nicotine gets a bad rap. I get it, and that's largely because it's associated with cigarettes and tobacco, which are obviously very, very bad for you. But in of itself, pure nicotine without the tobacco has a lot of benefits. Nicotine improves cognitive performance. It's helpful for tasks that require sustained focus. It increases dopamine, which can improve your mood, your motivation, and it acts really, really fast, making it useful if you're in need of an instant energy boost. Alex Hormozy, for example, he uses nicotine as an energy and focus boost as part of his daily routine. But that's not to say that there aren't potential health risks here. First, most importantly, make sure you are not getting your nicotine from cigarettes, from chew, from products that contain tobacco, from vaping. It's obviously no good. Instead, you can use nicotine gum, patches, or even the spitless tobacco-free pouches like Zyn or Snus, I think it's called. Um, Now, there aren't too many definitive studies on just nicotine that I'm personally aware of. I haven't seen any studies, for example, with a direct correlation with pure nicotine to any type of cancer, but just know it is highly addictive. It's a vasoconstrictor, meaning it narrows your blood vessels, can cause a spike in blood pressure, and there are studies that suggest it can potentially lead to hardening of the arteries. So, look, I'm not necessarily recommending you use nicotine. I've used it. I can attest to its effectiveness, but do your own research on this. If you do decide to use it sparingly, like one piece of gum in the morning. You don't want to get addicted and be one of these people using like 20 patches a day. Okay. The next is going to be my favorite of these three, and that's going to be the wakefulness promoting drug modafinil. Now, a lot of people describe modafinil as the drug from the movie Limitless. If you guys have seen that with Bradley Cooper, obviously that's kind of an exaggeration, but you get the idea, right? This drug was created for people with narcolepsy, sleep apnea, and shift work sleep disorder. Also functions as a nootropic, basically a smart drug that enhances cognitive performance, attention, and focus. It influences neurotransmitters. So again, our dopamine, our norepinephrine, orexin, which is a wakefulness promoting neuropeptide. And a lot of people like it because it has the function of, same benefits of like caffeine and nicotine without the side effects of some of these stimulants or like that intense stimulation of like like Adderall or any amphetamines. Okay, and a lot of people use this as an alternative to Adderall, especially like people suffering with ADHD or ADHD like symptoms. It's been used heavily in the military to help soldiers stay alert during extended missions. And personally, as my personal testimony, I found it to be actually very effective. Again, some people say it's like the limitless drug. Now, I haven't experienced anything quite that strong. I'm also not very sensitive to stimulants, meaning like I can drink 3 cups of coffee and go straight to sleep with no problem. But for sure, I have felt an increase in focus and overall energy levels. Now, this is not something you could just buy over the counter, but you can order it online without a prescription. The problem there is that there are a lot of kind of shady online pharmacies, especially outside of the US. So you really need to know who you're buying from. So at the time of this recording, right, I can personally vouch for the website modafinilxl.com. I have used them several times. They have a lot of reviews both on the site and on external sites. They offer free samples, they have informational articles, and they have legitimate products. All right. So for the rest of our supplements, now I'm going to go super rapid fire. You can look these up at your own uh, discretion, your own time. But these are things you can get on Amazon or your local Target or pharmacy or grocery store, whatever. My number one best and most favorite supplement of all time. It's called Green Vibrance. This is a superfood powder with antioxidants, essential micronutrients, vitamins, organic superfoods, prebiotics, adaptogens. It's got over 25 billion probiotics, for that gut health that we talked about. Energy, vitamins. It's a staple in my kitchen. Again, you can grab this on Amazon. Tastes pretty good, mixes easily, 1 scoop a day, and you're solid. All right. Next, you want a good multivitamin. I recommend Irwin Naturals and also the Animal Pack. Name brands kind of oscillate between those two. You want to get those B vitamins in, especially B12 and B6. Those are especially good for energy. Iron, transports oxygen in the blood. Magnesium, zinc, your omega 3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. Personally, I prefer to use krill oil. Typically, there's less mercury and chemicals when compared to the types that are derived from fish oils. CoQ10, that's a compound that helps produce energy in cells and also acts as an antioxidant. Creatine, one of the most studied like sports nutritional supplements ever, helps regenerate ATP, which again is the main energy carrier in your cells. Great for those gym gains. Vitamin D, which we talked about already. And ginseng, it's a good one, right? Particularly Panax ginseng. It's used to boost energy, improve your stamina, and reduce fatigue. So now that's going to bring us to our final one, energy hack number 10. And number 10 is going to be my personal testimony on how I eat. And again, I'm not going into specific diets here. Everyone's a little bit different. Everybody responds to different things. But personally, I adhere to a ketogenic diet, which is primarily fat based, 70% fat, 20% protein, 10% carbs on average. I personally really just enjoy this style of eating because when I am consuming primarily fats, and ideally I try to make them healthy fats like nuts and almonds and avocados, eggs, salmon. When I'm consuming those fats, I almost never get hungry. You tend to feel pretty much like full all the time when you're on keto. And those times when I do eat carbs or where I have eaten carbs, maybe overindulged, I do get these weird spikes in energy, and then I tend to crash, right? Just this, feeling lethargic that you get the itis, right? And in addition, next thing is like whether you're on keto or not, I highly, highly recommend intermittent fasting. So typically, I eat breakfast around 2 or 3 p.m. and then I close my eating window around 9ish, 9 p.m. And personally, I've found that I just have less brain fog. Okay, I feel much more focused working on an empty stomach, and I prefer working out on an empty stomach as well. And it saves me a lot of time in terms of eating and preparing meals. And then the last thing I'll mention on the subject of diet, again, personal preference, and I'm keeping it pretty general here, but stick to the perimeter of your supermarket. So yeah, I'm generalizing here, but usually that's going to be where you find your fresh produce, your meats, your eggs, your dairy, your fish. Because look, I'm not super strict with the diet stuff. I probably could be a little better, step it up. But for my so-called diet, I really just strive to eat what I call one ingredient foods, meaning, what are the ingredients in eggs? It's eggs, right? Versus the things that are typically found when you go down the aisles in the middle of your supermarket, the things that have like 100 different ingredients, many of which I can't even pronounce, right? And that's not 100% true, right? Like I still like my tuna fish, but typically the aisles are where you get kind of all that artificial stuff, right? All right, so that brings us to the end of my top 10 energy tips. But look, now let's do a quick bonus round with some reminders and some of the things you're probably aware of, but they're worth reinforcing. So, in addition to the things that we already talked about, right? The type of water, structured water, grounding, gut health, cold exposure, movement, circadian rhythms, sun exposure, and some nutrition. Also, make sure that you're managing your stress. Stress is so underrated. It can cause chronic fatigue, it can cause cancer. And chronic stress disrupts energy production. It increases inflammation in the body. And you got to work to manage this, right? The tough times, they will pass. So focus on your mindfulness, do deep breathing exercises, practice meditation daily, spend time in nature. Next, I also recommend that you invest in your social connections, right? We're social beings, man, and the types of people in your network will have a direct correlation with your zest for life and your energy levels. Another big one that we didn't get into today, because today was more about things you can do. This one's a little bit more of what not to do. But I want you guys to be very wary and try to limit your exposure to environmental toxins. Any type of exposure to toxins, endocrine disruptors, pollution, I mean, that's all going to hurt you. I encourage you to do some external research on this because there are just so many things we can potentially be exposed to every day. You should be drinking your natural structured water, but at the very least, man, use a filter. Okay, drink filtered water, use non-toxic household products, put plants in your house to improve your air quality, and stop microwaving in plastic. That's a very specific pet peeve for a very specific person, Rochelle. All right, let's see. Monitor your blood sugar. That's one that can just help you understand your personal responses to food, help you make better dietary choices. And then finally, probably like the most obvious, but it's so obvious that people don't give it the appropriate attention it deserves. But prioritize your sleep, man. Go to bed earlier. We didn't talk about it much in this video because I think it's somewhat self-explanatory, but try to get about 8 hours of sleep a night. I know some people can survive with less, but strive for that. Ideally, sleep in line with your circadian rhythms, getting up with the sun, getting to bed early, minimizing blue light, minimizing any alcohol before bed, sleep in a cool environment, cooler than your daily comfort zone preference. Sleep in pitch black to the degree that you can, so no electronics, no little lights in the room, use blackout curtains, etc. And try to keep the same sleep schedule every day, day to day, as much as possible. There's some really cool apps out there, cool devices, like smartwatches, there are Aura rings that can help you track your sleep and the different cycles you go through as you sleep. So on that note, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you got some value from it. I hope you actually try some of these things, and I want to encourage you to be open-minded, right? Go test this stuff out. Not everything will necessarily work or resonate with everyone, and you don't need to do absolutely everything, but give it a try, all right? And now I'm really curious from you guys. I mean, these are only 10 hacks, and obviously there's so many more. So let me know down in the comment section below. And feel free to engage with others down there. How and when do you feel at your best? Okay, anything you'd like to share, any advice, any supplements, experiences that you've had, any tips and tricks, general life hacks, please share them here. And if you'd like additional help with this, on maximizing productivity, on lifestyle, on how to get results, how to quit your job, how to be a successful wholesaler, even if you've never done a deal before and you're looking to accomplish that goal in the next couple of weeks, or if you have done some deals, but now you're looking to be more consistent, maybe you're looking to scale, this is your invitation to schedule a free one-on-one call with me at wholesalingwithmike.com/call. Basically, what I do is I look at where you are right now. I diagnose what's going on. Why aren't you seeing results? I show you what you need to be doing instead. I answer all of your questions, and I give you a game plan on how to best move forward. Now, this is a 100% free coaching call. There's no sales pitch or anything like that. However, if you are interested in my one-on-one mentorship program, I have only a few spaces left right now. You do have to book this call. That's the only way to get into this program, and that's just to make sure that we are a good fit for each other. Spots for these calls are limited. They do fill up each and every week. So if you're interested, make sure you go to wholesalingwithmike.com/call and book your call right now. All right. Remember to get your free course and free software trial in the description below. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. Very much appreciated. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right. Peace.